Good morning. I'm Trinity Barak, and I wanted to give you a little insight into the precise pantograph system. A few little tips and tricks of how to get it on your machine, attached to your machine, and then how to use it. So first I wanted to start by answering a few questions that people ask me. They ask me about my quilting room and how much space that it takes, that the precise pantograph system takes a lot of room in the back because you're sitting down while you're quilting, and in actuality I am sitting on my chair now. So let's see if I can show you just how small of a space that I'm working in. Here are my bookshelves and my chair and my machine. So I really don't have a lot of room in my to work with. Give you an idea of the rest of my room. It is extremely small. There is just not much room in here to work with at all. Things are stuffed, stacked, and organized everywhere. So you don't need a whole lot of room. What you do need is you need to be comfortable. And sitting down while you're doing your pantographs is the most comfortable way that I have found. And so I'd like to share with you the precise pantograph system and how it actually works. This is a Millennium made by APQS. And on my Millennium, I have the precise pantograph on the machine now. It is simply a bar that attaches onto your machine. So I'm going to take the camera and give you some close-up pictures of that and a few tips of how to operate a laser. No matter what system that you have, we do make the PPS for every machine that I know that's out there. I think there's a few models that haven't been installed yet, but that just takes time. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So this is the precise pantograph system installed on my APQS Millennium, and as you can see, it is a very simplistic system. There is a top bar which uses 2 bolts to clamp underneath your machine. Whatever your machine is, it is going to take a different bottom plate, and you want to try and keep it as close to the machine as possible. Sometimes you have other things attached to your machine. I'll come here to this side. So your first bolt is the one that actually gives you your level. So if you find that your PPS is not, the straight bar is not level, when you put the level on it, this is the bolt that you want to tighten. On an Innova machine, the bottom bar is actually what goes on top, and the top bar goes underneath because of the height of the machine, so that you can get your A-frame up to the correct height. There isn't anything more complicated than that. If you have a machine that sits on a carriage, you'll end up with 2 bottom bars, one that will go in the back as close to the curvature of your machine or the back of your machine as you can get, and then you'll have another bar that will go up underneath your carriage, right in between the machine and the carriage. So don't try and go underneath your carriage. You're going to be going underneath your machine. And those machines, they come automatically with them. If you should happen to change your system out, just let me know and I'll send you something new. Another thing that I have added to mine is I do have from APQS, I can use my existing laser, but I've chosen to go ahead and attach a separate laser, which is simply a battery operated. It's just out of the way. There's no cords hanging anywhere. Everything works pretty darn easy for it. The other thing I have added, which we do carry, is an under the bar LED light. And if I plug it in here, you'll see just how much light that gives off. So I can add an awful lot of light to my space. I've also added the same light up in the front so that I can have more light directly where I'm working. In doing the laser light in the middle, it just frees it up that there is nothing hanging in the way. Another thing I might mention is that your precise pantograph merely wants to be just skimming over the top of your table. Now on my table, I'll give a little explanation here. I've modified it so that I have the gridded board that you see here in 1-inch grids. It helps me keep things straight, but I've also added over the top of it, I've added a pure plastic sheet so that I can put my pantographs under just clear plastic and still be able to utilize the lines to keep everything straight. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind when you're working with your precise pantograph. So let me load up a pantograph and we're going to take a look at some of the things that you can do with pantographs. So I've loaded a pantograph from Urban Elements, which is a pantograph company that we do carry their products. So if you're interested in those, watch the website. But what you can do is you can see that I can see my lineup from my under with the grid, and then all I have to do is lift the pure plastic and I can now adjust this so that I can make it straight to wherever I need on my quilt. Then I know that I'm straight as I'm working. The laser light, you always want to make sure that your laser light is as small as it can be. These lasers come with a small adapter that makes an itsy bitsy hole. And I'll show you, if you have a laser that doesn't have a really fine laser light, I'll show you a little trick on how to make that happen. So our goal here is to get the smallest laser that we can possibly get, and all I have is just a straight pin and a small piece of blue tape. And if I just take and poke a hole into that blue tape, then I'm able to come over to my laser and you can see the light that's on the laser now. And all I need to do is just tape this on top and you'll see how much smaller my laser light became. Now you can see how small the laser light is with just adding a pinhole over the top. That makes you much more precise in actually following your lines. So that's one option that you can do that will help a great deal. So let's say that we only wanted to have a motif just in one area of our quilt. We have lots of options with the Precise Pantograph System. We can take a vis-a-vis marker, and I always recommend that people use vis-a-vis because if you were to write on your plastic with the dry erase markers, that usually will stay and stain your plastic over time. So go to any of the office supply stores, and what you want is a vis-a-vis marker. So this is a pack of vis-a-vis markers, and it comes in several different colors. So usually I like to have different colors that I can mark different things that I want. So let's see what we can do with a single motif for a certain area. So I've decided that I wanted to take just a plain picture of a leaf, and I wanted to be able to reproduce that leaf into a pantograph, but I don't have a leaf pantograph available. So any picture that you have can easily be slid underneath your plastic. And now I have an absolute drawing space. So I can actually look at the leaf, take my vis-a-vis marker, and I can come in and trace that anywhere that I would need to for my block. Let's say that the leaf was not big enough. I could go to my printer, I could enlarge it and make it large enough that I could use. Once that you have the leaf where you want it, just slide it out and the leaf remains on your plastic. That could be done with a lot of different things. Most of us have several books or quilting motifs that we have collected throughout the years, and what to do with them. Well, sometimes we just need to think a little bit outside the box. So let's take, just because I have it right behind me in the bookshelf, we're going to take quilting designs, follow the line quilting designs. Well, these are made as small pantographs, but they're on smaller sheets of paper. So let me get one out of here and I'll show you what we can do with these guys. So when you work with these, you get a pantograph that has a corner to it and then has some lines and gives you the actual how to start and stop, that you can actually see how the motif is actually put together. Well, they also come with single designs. But let's say that I wanted to have a border of this, but it's going to go at a diagonal. So I can choose where I place this just by now putting it underneath my plastic and redrawing it. So let's see if I can do some of that for you and give you an idea what that looks like. So I've moved the camera to the other side, so you're actually looking from the front towards the back. So let's get a little area here and see if we can draw some pantograph that you can see where we're actually drawing at. So for the purpose of making it so you can see, I'm just going to put some white tape and put one of the pantographs upside down on here so that we only see what I'm drawing. The one thing too that I will mention about the vis-a-vis marker is that the vis-a-vis are easily erased because they're water. It just takes a little paper towel and a little water to wipe off the designs, and with the vis-a-vis marker, that's the great thing about the vis-a-vis, is it just doesn't take anything to wipe it off. So let's find a couple of designs that we can play with. So let's say on your quilt that you decided that this is for your grandchild, and you've decided that, oh my goodness, he needs to have a little Scotty dog. So there we have a little Scotty dog. Okay, so let's decide what we actually want to do. First, let's give ourselves a parameter of where we want our little Scotty dog to be. So if we look at this, it's about a 4-inch area that I need. And so I would put my needle on my quilt that is loaded on my frame, and right here I see a dot. So my needle is where I want the right hand side to be, and I'll move my dot to where I want the left hand side to be and put a mark, and again, and I'm just looking at the block on my quilt. So even if you have an irregular size block, it won't matter. If it's kittywampus, it won't matter. And then I can just take a ruler and I can give myself lines so that I know this is what my block looks like, and this is where my Scotty dog has to fit inside of there. Now I drew this without a quilt on the frame just to give you the idea, but you can see my box is not necessarily a square box. But now I can take my Scotty dog, slide him into that area, and I can center him in that area just underneath the plastic. And I can decide, well, let's put him at an angle. Okay, that looks pretty cute. So now I'm going to grab a different color marker. Now I can just come in and I can either trace the Scotty dog, or I can just leave it on my box and I can actually do the design right from here. So I don't even have to trace it if I don't want to. I can just bring my PPS over and I can start my quilting right here and just follow the lines. And again, that's right on your pattern, so you're not having to do any redrawing or anything like that. You can do that with anything that you can actually put on the quilt. Let's say, so I'm going to wipe this off, start again. So let's say that you have a quilt that you wanted to put your grandchild's name on. Well, that's very simple to do. So my grandbaby is Levi. So I can just come in and I can just put his name in, and I can do the same thing with my pantograph so that I can actually do the design. So I'm going to move this clear piece over here just a little. So I can come in and just write his name. At that point, I can bring my laser light and I can decide, okay, here's exactly where I need it, and I've checked my sizing, and I can now just follow my lines of where I need to go. And I can easily trace over my own handwriting. Now, you might be saying, well, why do you need to trace over your own handwriting? Well, this might be an area that I need a few more design elements. So let's put some more design elements in there. Maybe I wanted to actually be able to do a little bit of quilting around it. So if I have my area that I want his name to be in, now I could come in and I could say, okay, so I want to have some scallops around his name. And the reason I do pantographs is because I'm not a very good hand artist, but I can also give myself some parameters of this is what I want to do. I can, if I have my block drawn out, the sky's the limit with what I can put in there. Let's say that I wanted to fit something just to an area. This allows me to be able to fit it exactly, and I can resize the picture to whatever it is that I need. So the precise pantograph really gives you the ability and the availability to be able to really take everything that you want and make it your own. You don't have to rely on printed goods. You can do everything all by yourself. Another thing I should mention is that there's sometimes that in your quilting that you've drawn a design on paper when you've been practicing, and you're easily able to stick that underneath your plastic and utilize that. So sometimes I draw something perfectly one time when I'm doodling, and it's only going to happen one time. So I need to make a pantograph out of that, or use it into a square block or a triangle or whatever that might be. Now I can resize it, I can print it off one time, or I can draw it one time and be able to go all along my plastic and just slide the paper underneath. As long, again, as I've made some registration marks of where the design needs to go on my actual quilt, I've got that covered. So I hope you've enjoyed a few little tips and tricks. If there's something specifically that you need to know more information about, please let me know. I'm always happy to talk to you. Give me a call on the phone, email me, send me a Facebook, and I'll be happy to help. So I hope everyone has a great new year, and I hope to see you at a show sometime this year. Thanks. Take care.